Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and today's show is presented by Manscaped. Get 20% off and free shipping on the best male grooming products out there. And if you're wondering, Mitch, how do I see that link? Luckily for you, it's going to be down in the comments. Going to be down in the description of today's show. So I wanted to do a brand new Raiders mock draft, and I love the fact that I was able to do this one because ESPN has just launched a new mock draft feature, and the reason why that I think it's cool is because when you do mocks always at like PFF, PFN, wherever that you end up doing them, their rankings are so different. So I thought it was fun to do this one based on totally different rankings because then it was a little bit more random. I didn't know exactly what players were going to potentially fall to me. So I ran this simulator with the mindset that Aidan O'Connell, Gardner Minshew would be the starting quarterbacks with this team because if there's a chance that you don't go get Jayden Daniels, then Telesco, then AP got to be able to make that decision of, all right, we're going to be rolling with our guys. In total, the Silver and Black have 8 picks, and I'm going to walk you through each of those 8 picks. However, though, let's have a little bit of a fun debate because that's what this show here is all about. If you had to pick a starter, if the Raiders try to go get Jayden Daniels, they're unable to do it, and they say, we're rolling with one of these guys as our starting quarterback. Is it going to be Gardner Minshew? Is it going to be Aidan O'Connell? Let me know down below. My answer is Gardner Minshew. You gave him 2 years, $25 million, $15 million guaranteed. It will be a fun quarterback battle, and low-key, I will be rooting for Aidan O'Connell to win it because if Aidan can beat out Gardner, that tells me that, yes, Aidan is getting better, but on top of that, if I just see more trade value, like that's what I see. You're making our quarterback room that much better to me. So I believe it's going to be Gardner, but Aidan would end up being the quarterback too. So here are the 8 picks for the Silver and Black. You got to pick in every single round 2 in round 7 of them. And so to paint the picture, that way you guys can see who was available to me at pick number 13. And ESPN mock draft here, it went Caleb Williams, Drake Maye, Jayden Daniels. If that ends up happening, guess what? You might have to end up rolling with Gardner or Aidan. Marvin Harrison Jr. goes off the board. Malik Nabers, Odunze. Then from 7 to 12, McCarthy goes off the board at 11 of the Minnesota Vikings. Number 12 was Talisi Fuanga. He goes to the Denver Broncos. So a lot of offensive tackles leave. And for me personally, I've done a lot of mock drafts out there. And I wanted to do something where I'm like, okay, if I'm going to roll with a quarterback like Gardner Minshew or like a potentially, like a guy, like Aidan O'Connell who's not the most mobile, to me, if you're going to do that, you got to address the offensive line. To me, if you're going to roll with Aidan or Gardner, the offensive line is a bigger priority. Finding that solid right tackle is a bigger priority than going out and getting a corner. So for that reason, I ended up going with J.C. Latham here, offensive tackle from Alabama. He is a Pro Bowler at the offensive tackle position. Some people might say he might be better off as a guard. I don't really see that personally. He operated in a variety of different run schemes at Alabama, and players that work underneath somebody like a Nick Saban, usually when they show up to the NFL, they're ready to get it going right away. And 874 snaps for Latham. He had the overall grade of 81.9. This dude's upside is unbelievable, and I'll tell you what, this would be the offensive line that I would do. Some people might disagree with me on the Munford and Parham whole stance, but if the Raiders ended up taking Latham, I'll put him at right tackle. I'm going to kick Dylan Parham over to right guard because I have more confidence in Parham than I do Munford, and I would want Parham to be able to help out Latham a little bit as that rookie. Munford, I also thought, did a pretty solid job on the left side last year when he was asked to do it, and then you'd be able to have him next to Colt Miller, Andre James up the center. I don't know about y'all, that's a top 10 offensive line if I've ever seen one. Here's you go. Whip out your mocks with me. Subscribe for more Raiders mock drafts. I got at least a little bit of a grin there from Chuggy Bull. But seriously, the NFL draft is less than 2 weeks away. Tons and tons and tons of mock drafts going to be coming out left and right. And if you love licorice, well, then I got something even more special for you. Shout out to the Noty Gang, man. I got Mike, Temp, Scott, Joe, Raider Hype. If you don't know what the Noty Gang is, it's people that are subscribed, people that turn on that notification bell, they click all. So every time I drop a video, they get the notification, they see it. It's kind of like getting that booty call. You don't want to miss it, and I don't want you to miss this content either. Let's go to round 2, pick 44 for the Silver and Black. If we went J.C. Latham at offensive line with our first pick, that then means I'm looking, and I didn't know exactly where I was going to go, and then I saw his name on the screen, and I was like, holy shit, I got to go this. This is an absolute steal here at pick 44, KoolAid Mckintry. So back-to-back Bama players. And to me, he's got that confidence that you're looking for in a rookie corner where you can put him on an island. And I'll know this, you got KoolAid and Jack Jones. That might be the two swaggiest corners in the NFL, man. His acceleration is insane. The thing that I also love is he can return punts. So, like, if you're looking for a potential, like, DeAndre Carter replacement, I think you can put him back there as a punt returner. Let Trey Tucker concentrate more on just being a wide receiver. Very intelligent player. Did a phenomenal job at his pro day when the Raiders were in attendance. Like, yes, Terrion Arnold's getting all the attention in the world, but if you told me what do I think is a better start, J.C. Latham and KoolAid Mckintry compared to a Terrion Arnold, and then you got to find another offensive tackle in round 2. I don't think it's that easy. But the other part about Mckintry was he was basically like the cornerback one on the Crimson Tide. Was only targeted 39 times, 205 yards allowed against them. No interceptions, but like if he gets the ball in his hands, nobody wants to see him in the open field. Like, you want to talk about panic. Like, I can't even imagine trying to tackle KoolAid Mckintry. It would almost be like if Graf tried to guard me in basketball. I mean, it would be a deer in the headlights. That would be me trying to keep up with KoolAid Mckintry. But I took him at pick 44 in round 2, which now means round 3, pick 77 coming up here for the Las Vegas Raiders. And I'm going to tell you who the silver and black ended up taking. I also am trying to build that D. You know what I'm talking about. Obviously, I'm talking about Manscaped, our sponsor here, because today's show is presented by them. 20% off and free shipping. Use promo code Raiders. If you need your D to look a little bit better, I've been told every inch counts, right? And in a game like football, every inch does count. And you get rid of your George W., let that Ken Stabler hang out a little bit. Guess what? It's going to look a little bit better. Also, the month of April, in all seriousness, Manscaped's totally changing the game because did you know one man every hour, every day is diagnosed with testicular cancer? In fact, testicular cancer is the most common form of cancer among men aged 15 to 35. With April being National Testicular Cancer Awareness Month, our friends over at Manscaped have partnered with the Testicular Cancer Society to help spread awareness for men's health and early cancer detection. Visit manscaped.com/TCS and learn how to check yourself for early signs of cancer. And as always, you can use promo code Raiders for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. In addition to providing the right tools and solutions for comfortable and easy grooming, Manscaped is committed to raising awareness and giving support for fighters, survivors, and families impacted by testicular cancer. That is why they will be donating $50,000 to the Testicular Cancer Society. Help save lives and your balls by going over to manscaped.com/TCS and sharing their funny, educational, check yourself video. And while you're at it, grab 20% off and free shipping with code Raiders because, like a famous American philosopher once said, take care of your chicken, your balls, and your mentals. Shout out to Manscaped for hooking up the nation. Let's go to round 3, pick 77 here. And like I said, I'm building that D. I'm going to go with linebacker out of Kentucky, Trevon Wallace, who is an athletic specimen, explosive athlete who can get after the quarterback, and I do think that he'd be able to play special teams right away, even if, like, he did not quite translate to the NFL as quickly as what you're hoping for. Like, that is a possibility with Wallace. You put Wallace and Burney, though, in a competition, and I think best player comes out, I do think it's going to be Wallace. His play recognition and football instincts are lacking a little bit, but if there's one thing I'm going to be confident in, I'm going to take an athletic specimen that you got to be able to work with a little bit to get the most out of. Why? Because I believe in Antonio Pierce, and I believe in our coaching staff. When you look at our linebacker coach, when you talk about Rob Leonard couldn't say enough nice things about Wallace at the Senior Bowl. And remember, Leonard is the Raiders' defensive line coach, but Leonard coached him at the Senior Bowl when Wallace was there. And when you think about the intangibles, when you think about molding a player into something special, Trevon Wallace can be a real difference maker because people don't move the way he does at 6'2", 240 pounds. He can get after the quarterback. He can be a dynamic linebacker. And if Divine Diablo doesn't have a good year this year, guess what you do? Wipe your hands, move on, and then you go Trevon Wallace, Amari Burney, and then Robert Spillane. Round 4, pick 112 coming up here on the show. And this time, I'm going to go with the offensive side of the football. I'm going to go with Marshawn Lloyd, the running back out of USC. And this is probably my favorite running back in this class. I'm not saying he's the best running back in this class, but based on the value, if the Silver and Black are able to get Lloyd here in round 4, pick 112, I'm going to be jumping for joy. He's got good start-stop explosiveness, which is probably one of the top things that I look for in a running back. He could make people miss. Like when you're as short, stocky, bulky like he is and shifty, it's not that easy to slow down. He's a better running back than Zamir White. He's a better running back than Alexander Madison. And if you make this move happen, then you can move on from Madison, Alexander the next season. And then you can maybe roll with a Sincere McCormick to have a little bit more depth. Britton Brown stinks. Amir Abdul is just a third down back. And realistically, I think they just brought him back to do a little bit more special teams. But like Marshawn Lloyd can catch the football. He can run between the tackles. And I do think in today's day and age for running backs, and hell, Telesco even said it, he wants 2 to 3 running backs. And guess what? You'd be able to have 2 to 3 running backs with Marshawn Lloyd, get him acclimated a little bit to your system, and it wouldn't surprise me if he would be the top back by the end of the season. This is not a I don't like Zamir White. This is not a I don't like the Raiders' current running backs. But it is one of the weaker units right now, and it's why I'm going to go here and take somebody in round 4. This pick right here, round 5, 148, I did not anticipate doing this one. And I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say, because if I'm going to roll into the season here with Gardner Minshew and Aidan O'Connell, I know what I said, but I do think that if this were to happen, the Raiders would at least have to entertain the idea, because Spencer Rattler was on the board in round 5, pick 148. You know what? F it. Let's ride. You want a competitive quarterback room? You want a kid that's got some upside? You can say whatever you want about Spencer Rattler. You can. You know what you can't say? He doesn't have upside. He does have upside. So if you want to go the safer route with a guy who doesn't have a lot of upside in Gardner Minshew, another guy who doesn't have a lot of upside in Aidan O'Connell, you let those two battle it out in year 1. You let Spencer Rattler learn for an entire year, and who knows? Maybe he could be your quarterback next season. I'm not sitting up here saying that I would love it, but if you were to tell me if there is one quarterback that goes after round 3 that could potentially be a franchise starting quarterback, who is it? His name is Spencer Rattler. He was once one of the top quarterback prospects out there, and when you think about great quarterback success, like, remember at Oklahoma, they were shitting out Heisman Trophy winners. Spencer Rattler goes to Oklahoma, gets beat out by a guy named, I don't know, Caleb Williams. He's going number 1 overall. So here's my question, though, because I had the opportunity to pick either Spencer Rattler or Jordan Travis. Who would you have gone with? Would you have gone with Rattler, type SR? The Raiders have met with a top 30 visit in the Florida State quarterback, Jordan Travis. I went with Rattler. I know some people might go with Jordan Travis. Fun debate. Let's go to round 6, pick 208 here on my latest Raiders mock draft presented by Manscaped. And at this point, this is where I look for special teams guys, maybe a high risk, high reward type of player. And I was really excited to get Taj Washington, receiver from USC. And this is another player that when you watch his tape, man, it's like another perfect fit, I think, for what the Raiders are trying to do. He's a tough mother effer. He makes contested catches. Like, he's not going to be somebody that's going to put up probably like 60, 70 catches in a season. He's the type of player, though, you put him next to Trey Tucker. Trey Tucker ain't a blocker. Taj Washington knows how to block. So if you still want to have an explosive athlete that also offers you some ability in the kick return game on special teams, hell, this would be a dude, I'd put him as a gunner. Like, if you're looking for an extra spot, say, Taj, go out there and hit somebody, because sometimes when you have a player that's like 5'10", 175 pounds, I don't know if I've ever seen a receiver at 5'10", 175 pounds that takes more pride in laying dudes out in the running game like Washington does. On top of that, he can stretch the field. He is a dynamic playmaker. He puts people on skates, and if the silver and black are legitimate they want to add a little bit more pre-snap motion, Taj Washington, Trey Tucker, they take the attention away from the top target getters in Jacoby Myers, Michael Mayer, and Devontae Adams. Round 7, let's get to it. Pick 223 here on the Raiders report. And at this point, again, I'm looking for depth. I'm looking for players that stand out to me a little bit. And this is a guy that stands out to me. And the more and more tape I watch on him, he has a top 30 visit with the silver and black. Trey Taylor, the safety out of Air Force. He won the Jim Thorpe Award, which is the best defensive back in the country. That's the award Trevon Merrick also won. I think that he plays with like a linebacker mentality. He can cover tight ends pretty well. And I would be curious to see if teams try to like do what they did with Tanner Muse or did with Divine Diablo, where he was a safety and they try to convert him into a linebacker, because I don't think he's good enough to cover in the NFL despite him being as successful as what he was at Air Force. 6 foot, 210-pounder, 74 tackles, 3 interceptions, 4 PBUs last season. But, like, it wouldn't surprise me if he beats out a guy like Chris Smith, because I know that the Raiders drafted Ja'Cory Bennett, Chris Smith, Amari Burney, a lot of these guys. That's not this regime. Byron Young. So if I'm this new head coach, if I'm Tom Telesco, I'm going, I want to build with my guys. Those are Josh McDaniels guys. Round 7, pick 229. I'm not going to lie to y'all. Had to reach in the bag for this one a little bit, and I go, what could the Raiders do this late in the draft? Well, let's go with a guy that they had a top 30 visit with, offensive lineman from Furman, Jake Johanning, I think is how you pronounce it. And this might surprise you. Not a lot of tape on this guy, but a backup center would essentially be his role because I think that they look at Jordan Meredith as being like that sixth man where, all right, somebody goes down, he can be a left guard. Somebody goes down, he can be a right guard. So you had a backup center here, played for Furman, won the 2023 Southern Conference Jacobs Blocking Award, and he helped this team, rack up 160 rushing yards a game. Definitely needs to add weight, like 276-pound lineman in the NFL. That just doesn't exist, right? Like, this homie, he's going to have to put on 25, 30 pounds. But in round 7, this is usually when a team ends up going with somebody that they had maybe a private meeting with. They like them a lot. Maybe you've never heard of them. So you know what? Let's roll the dice here and let's make it happen. Here's your opportunity to either love it, hate it, grade it. Grade this mock draft, and if you want, take a screenshot, post it on Twitter, post it on Instagram. Give me an A, B, C, D, or F, and I want you to grade it the way I would grade it. A, it's excellent. B, it's good. C, it's bad. C, it's average. D, it's bad. F, it's a failing grade. For me personally, I look at this mock draft and I give it an A- grade. The reason why that I'm going to give it an A- grade is because I love the fact that we got J.C. Latham at right tackle. The KoolAid Mckintry pick in round 2, like that start alone, I am loving that. Trevon Wallace is an okay move. Marshawn Lloyd is an A grade for me. Spencer Rattler's like in round 5, I looked at it like I got to do it. I didn't want to take a quarterback in this mock, but based on that value, I did end up going out and getting it. I'm seeing some A's, seeing some B's, seeing some C's. That's why I love the Raiders Report. It's your opportunity to let me know what you guys are thinking.